Hanchi Kiwa. Hello, how are you all? Welcome to Homelands, originally broadcast on CFCR Community Radio 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 Territory, CFCR.ca. This is your favorite auntie, Andrea Letting Dewdney Avenue. My name is Andrea Letting. Call me Auntie Andy if you like, and I'll be your host over this next half hour. I am part settler, part relative, and 100% ally and relation to everyone. I'm just me. I'm not a card-carrying member of any Indigenous nation, but I am loved, adopted, related to, and accepted by many, hated by a few, but haters gonna hate, relators gonna relate. I am blessed to have Indigenous relations in my family and secretly may love them a little bit more than the rest, only because they're the first peoples of this land who have welcomed all the guests. But I'm also of Irish descent with some Scandinavian, along with a little bit of mystery. And that's the way I was raised, strongly anti-colonial and justice-oriented with a big related heart for all. I most empathize with my Batoche Métis friends and family growing up and that history and culture. And as an adult, have continued to try to live that Mio Pemitsewin, that beautiful, good life. So from the fringes of the sash, I situate myself as a relative and an ally and welcome you, my listeners, as brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, cousins in the Homelands. So let's welcome our relative tonight. I am very happy to say hello to my sister from another mister, Jolie BigEagle, coming from Treaty 4 Territory in Regina today. And Jolie is a proud member of the White Bear First Nation, and she is Nakota as well as Cree and Saulteaux. And she's an interdisciplinary artist. Like, she does everything: art, writing. She's got an engineering degree, but she has a beautiful family. And but really what she does is buffalo art. She's a buffalo artist, and so she paints buffalo, she writes about buffalo, she teaches about buffalo, she talks about buffalo, she advocates for the buffalo. She has been instrumental in getting place names changed in Regina, reflecting the buffalo. She's installed buffalo art, and she has actually got a project in the works to install another buffalo in Regina. And so I'm very excited to have her tell us more about this during Indigenous Peoples Month and so close to National Indigenous Peoples Day. And yeah, I'm very excited to welcome Jolie BigEagle here today. So thank you, Jolie.
Hi, Ambawashte. Ambawashte. Good to see you. Good to be on your program. That was a lot. That was really impressive. The way you greeted everybody. Yeah, I really love that. I loved your introduction. Your introduction of yourself.
Thank you. I like introducing everybody, and I was excited to talk about you some more. And so tell us more about your relationship with the buffalo. You have Buffalo People's Art Institute, and you do a lot of teaching and classes and workshops and installations. So tell us more about that.
Well, it really, I think when I talk now, it's been about identity, because growing up, I knew that I was an Indian, and I grew up in the inner cities of Regina and Saskatoon, and I felt at home there. And I still do. I currently live in what's called North Central in Regina, and so I'm advocating to change the way we think about our community, and it's like I'm trying to get fetch as the new catchphrase, that word from I think it was Mean Girls, right? So I'm trying to get people to, this isn't North Central, this is Buffalo Meadows, right? Like, before all the homes and the houses and the buildings and the streets were here, this is the land of the buffalo. And people like to say, well, Regina, there was nothing there. There wasn't even water, right? But what was here was, the native prairie grasses, the wide open fields. And so this was buffalo land, right? And so I've been taken in by those lies, right? By those manipulations of the truth of what happened here, 150 plus years ago. And so I've just, I my family told me, go get educated, go get the degree, right? That was, the education is the new buffalo. And so I got my mathematics degree from SIFC in 95, and went to work for my First Nation. Was on council for 2 years. One of the most stressful positions I've ever had, including, I would probably go back and get my master's in engineering versus go work on council right now because I just do not have the abilities to and the wherewithal to do that work. It's difficult work, so going to go get those my engineering degree in and getting that in 2004. I was on my path to become, I think I was, well, I'm an engineer. What am I going to do? Project management. Oh yeah, I'll do project management, but what next? Like, what's the dream? And so I thought, well, I want to be president of some company, right? And I'm Indigenous, I'm a woman, I'm smart. My friend said, "Oh, you're a unicorn," right? Because not only that, but I was a single parent, right? So it was just kind of this rare breed, she was trying to reference. And so I was like, yeah, well, I got to use this. So I'm like, what company can I take over? Right. And so that was my aspiration. And yeah, and at one time I really did think maybe I'll be president of Sask Energy because that's where I landed after I got my engineering degree. But on the flip side, I actually was maybe I was clinically depressed. I don't know. Um, uh, uh, I never went to go see anybody about it, but I was depressed, right? And so I had this huge success with these 2 degrees. I was making some good money as an engineer. I had aspirations, to become a president, and my family life was sort of stable. I was a single parent, so I did my best, right? And but I didn't drink or do drugs, and so I was like, why am I depressed? What's wrong with me? And I didn't want to go see the doctor because I'd seen some of my friends and family who had gone to doctors and they had just prescribed them drugs. I didn't want to do that because I wanted to live a clean, um, alcohol and drug free life. And I didn't want to get. I was worried about getting dependent, right, on prescription drugs, because I just have a tendency to be a, uh, I don't know, I guess maybe sucked into that world, right? And so I was really scared, but I didn't know how to deal with it. And then my mother, started to find, like, yeah, who are we? And and we never talked to residential school growing up, right? I didn't know what residential school was. And so really it wasn't until like my mid-20s when I followed my mother to ceremony that, and it took a long time. It didn't I didn't feel like I was healing overnight. Like one ceremony, oh my God, that was amazing. I'm better now, right? No, it took well, it still takes, I think, really, when we really kind of met and got more together as sisters, adopted sisters from another mother, in 2016. That's when I started to feel really more like I'm starting to feel like the skies opened, the blue skies are coming. And it's because of trauma in that year. There's so much trauma that happened, that finally it seemed all these ceremonies that I had been attending, sweat lodges, sun dances, UEPs, went on a vision quest. I did grief counseling, and then the buffalo were coming, right? They were coming, and it seemed like, wow, this is what I need to focus on. This is my identity. I'm not a buffalo like that. I don't have my spirit name is Ambazitkana Howashte, which means morning bird with good voice. And so it doesn't mean that my spirit name is has anything in with buffalo in it, but maybe I'm that buffalo bird, that bird that lands on the buffalo, and I pick the bugs and make sure the buffalo is clean and swat away the flies, snap at them or whatever. And then once I'm done my job, I just get to sit, and I get to, my perch is on the rump of the buffalo, and I just get to be like, I'm pretty safe up here, right? So maybe that's the the fruition of my spirit name. I am where I am, but you know, I know that Buffalo has really contributed to my mental wellness. And now to the point, one of my other sisters said, Jolie, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but why do you love Buffalo so much? And I'm like, I'm going to answer your question with a question. Why don't you? It really is. We're all part of the Buffalo Nation, but it's that trauma. And I think that's where that depression came from. It's that intergenerational trauma. And I'm not an art therapist, or I don't have the psychology background, but I understand trauma. And I understand intergenerational, because now I understand why I was the way I was, because it was residential school. But then it was even further than that. It was just imagining millions and millions of buffalo, and just like that, overnight, nothing, just complete, because they would say disappearing, vanishing. And I never questioned it. I always thought, wow, I wonder how they vanished, right? I wonder how they disappeared. It's not in our history books. And I was, what do you call that word? Complacent. I just accepted it as history. Buffalo just died. Cree people overhunted them. That's one of the reasons the history books and some of the plaques try to say is that Indigenous people overhunted. Well, once you do your history and you find out that no, we lived with buffalo for thousands and thousands of years, and with sustainable hunting because we knew we needed them, and once I found out that they were slaughtered, and it was in genocide, it was a genocide to, it was the hope by many people in power, that if they killed the buffalo off our food source, that they might kill the Indians off, because Indian wars were too expensive in the 1800s. And they were like, the treasuries in the governments of North America were like, those Indian wars are too much. We got to find another way. Right. And so, that history there saying, that people were literally hired as assassins to kill the buffalo, because they were, bought out. Like, well, if you, they were poor too. And so they, said, if you, the nefarious people, like the generals of some of the U.S. cavalries are on record saying, that we'll provide the individual shooters with shotguns, and I mean shotgun shells. We'll give them 25 cents a buffalo tongue, right? We'll let the people kill the buffalo. And instead of the army, although the army was encouraged too, but that it was genocide. And I don't think that that word is used enough in this country. And so, that trauma from having the buffalo plentiful year after year to just this instantaneous loss, disappearance, vanishing of the buffalo, that was the first major trauma our people faced, our ancestors faced. And so now I understand more why I was depressed. And it was an oppression as well. And so now that I understand it, now I can find a way back to who I'm supposed to be. And so now I attend ceremony, and I've been enacting some of the visions that were gifted to me by my ancestors, by the powers that be, and helping to hopefully heal my community, and letting others know, and the I hate to say it like this, but the word of the buffalo, right? Like we're buffalo people, all the way to Alaska, right? To Florida, to New York, under the Great Lakes, to our territory and down to Mexico. They're not just plains, like even that history. It's almost all of North America. So I am just amazed at how much strength and resilience our people have been through to be able to survive, so that individuals like myself can be alive and help to plan for the next 7 generations. So I yeah, so I'm like, although the buffalo aren't here, I think of them as they're in our blood. They're really in our blood. Literally, I have been contemplating thinking of taking a blood test, not the DNA one, for, what is it, the DNA 23 or something like that, to find my relations. I'm half interested in testing my blood to see if I have buffalo genes, to see if there's still some of the remnants of that buffalo DNA in my blood, just to prove a point. And I'm like, how would you even do that? Because we lived with buffalo for so long. Oh, of course, my dog. That we danced like buffalo. People would wear headpieces like buffalo. I have a buffalo hump, literally this pump on my back that I've had since I was a child, and it's not. I had to get checked out. I was young, and I told I was a worrywart. I was a cookum when I was a young child. I was a worrywart. I forced my mom to take me to the doctor to get my hump checked out, and they checked it out, X-rayed it, and they're like, no, it's just a little hump, right? You just have a hump, and it's good. It's not cancerous or anything. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I grew up with this hump, not knowing that it was my buffalo hump, right? And so now I'm just like, oh my goodness, there's the DNA right there. I don't need to take a blood test because I got my hump. And so what really has cleared my mind and opened up my heart to I guess good prayers, and good manifestations to create a new life has been, becoming a buffalo artist, telling these stories, sharing these truths, and painting buffalo. I'm beating buffalo, encouraging my husband to as well, and him, now being on we're side by side leading this organization called Buffalo People Arts Institute. And our mission is to bring back the buffalo mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally through traditional Indigenous arts. And one of them being leading buffalo hide tanning workshops. Right. And so I think we've worked on about 50 buffalo hides since 2015. And most of them have turned into buffalo rawhide, and a few of them, I think we've worked on 7 or 8 buffalo robes, but it's a lost art. And so we see that there's more and more organizations across the land now doing different kind of I'm not saying that we've been the reason, but it's just like, it's good to be a part of that wave, that bringing back these traditional teachings, because they're important, right? We still can use we can still use the buffalo hides for our drums, for the rattles, for I'm working on an art piece that's due Friday, a painting on a buffalo rawhide that's being gifted to a person that's departing their job. So, and I know other people, they make buffalo rawhide earrings, right? So it's like people always ask, well, where do you get your rawhide? Where do you get your buffalo hide from? We can't tell you. No, just jokes. We tell them, well, at this point, yeah, we don't have a pool of buffalo, not like we used to, but we have allies. We have buffalo ranchers and farmers, and we have buffalo keepers on First Nations, and so there, some of them, they send their buffaloes out to be slaughtered to a process factory. Some of them do it on the farm, so we can get those hides, right? And so we just Googled the Saskatchewan Bison Association, because there was 120 buffalo ranches in Saskatchewan. And we just started calling a 2-hour radius from Regina. And what do you guys do with your hides? What do you guys do with your hides? Can we buy them? Can we buy them? And and at the beginning they offered them for free, and now that they're a commodity, of course, they're now they come with that price, but we don't pay more than $40 a buffalo hide. So just FYI, anybody else who's going to purchase a hide out there, keep the rate low. And so, but the buffalo numbers are starting to rise. They're at 500,000 right now, and that's kind of loose numbers, right, in North America. But there are so many other organizations out there who are working tirelessly to help to bring back the buffalo. And so big shout out to buffalotreaty.com. They're building a website. That website to be a database, storage place, to hold some of those stories of others that are helping to bring back the buffalo. So, my hope, my children, I never grew up eating buffalo, but my children have, and my husband and I have committed to buying, buffalo meat consistently from, and now we see it at Costco, right? And it is more expensive, but, they say you don't need as much, right? So it's worth it. I know that um, our digestive systems thank us. So it's not only about the art part of it, but it's about, physically returning to eating our ancestral foods, right? And so, yeah, there's just so much more. I feel like I'm a baby in learning about all of these things, buffalo, that I really appreciate buffalotreaty.com and Dr. Leroy Little Bear and Tasha Hubbard and Marie Eve and so many other individuals who are holding some of that knowledge for us to share it with the community, so that we have a place of resilience to come from, to fight some of these I don't know what's the word. We went into ceremony yesterday on June 21st. It's the day of the solstice, the longest day of the year, and we were able to go on to the to have ceremony on a medicine wheel in the Moose Mountains. And so it's those ceremonies that help us when we face adversity, because I know, I got some sad news, yesterday after the ceremony was over. And, and I thought, if it wasn't ceremony, I wouldn't know what to do with myself, because I've gone through those periods of devastation. And now I think we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this because we have ceremony, right? And so that is like our medicine. So I've taken that medicine, and it's in preparation for the future unknowns, right? And that's like, you can't buy that medicine, right? You have to experience it through ceremonies. So so I'm just grateful for our ceremonies now, because that's what was missing from my education, right? And so I know, I respect the people who coined that, but really I've talked to some people and it's like Buffalo is the new Buffalo, right? And so let's keep Buffalo in our life, right? And let's help to bring back the Buffalo. So yeah, what was the question?
You answered it all and then some. We have like just like a couple minutes left, but
This is Doritos mango, by the way.
Doritos mango, that sounds delicious. Our little ad placement. Bison and Doritos mango.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about some of your place name advocacy before you go, because you've been instrumental in getting like Dewdney Park Pool Park, I think was named back into Buffalo because he was kind of behind a lot of the issues.
Yeah. Well, Edgar Dewdney, and I'm not sure if everybody knows, but he was lieutenant, what was his title? Lieutenant Governor of Northwest Territories. And so Saskatchewan is Northwest Territories, right? Before it became Saskatchewan. And so, but he's also the Indian Commissioner. And so during the first Prime Minister's reign, John A. Macdonald. And so he was also, the story's been said that he was the right-hand man of John A. Macdonald and implemented some of John A. Macdonald's racist inspired policies. And so I think that the thing that stands out the most for me is when the treaties were being signed, and land was being gobbled up by settlers. Edgar Dewdney, well, if we just look at Cypress Hills, right? And I'm doing some research on Cypress Hills and why. Of course, my dog. I'm just going to close my window here. So, in Cypress Hills, that's the sacred site for many Indigenous people, from our relatives in the States, from our relatives in Northern Saskatchewan, to our new relatives, the Blood people, the people in Alberta, right, the Blackfoot people, and all the way over here, the Nakota Assiniboine people. And so that was a gathering place for Indigenous people. But at the time, when Dewdney was in his office, he was given the task to clear the land. He was one of the individuals, given the task, clear the land, sign treaties, force the Indigenous people to other lands other than the south west section of Saskatchewan. And so how he forced people to take reserve was he started a starvation tactic. And so he told people, you can't get your food, your rations, even though that's one of the treaty provisions. He withheld rations from individuals unless they moved to the allotted reserve and left the Cypress Hills area. And so, people literally starved to death because they didn't want to move on to reservations. They wanted to retain their old way. And so he, even though they had the money, they had the food, they had storage, he starved out the people, especially the ones who didn't listen, and the ones who did listen and moved on to the reservations or were forced to listen because they wanted, our grandmothers and grandfathers to survive. They moved to reservations, and then on there they were forced to stay on them via the pass system. And even at that point, I believe Edgar Dewdney, when he did follow his task to provide rations to the people, he would feed them spoiled rations, spoiled meat, right? Spoiled food. So in the hopes that, they would get sick and die, right? And so unfortunately or fortunately, this is documented in memos and letters, and it's transcribed, between his office and the office of the government at the time, right? So he wasn't not only was he not a good ally to Indigenous people, but it sounds like he wasn't a good person overall. So there's a street that runs through Dewdney, through the heart of Regina, left east to west, and that street is Dewdney Avenue. And so I've been advocating to remove that street from our city, especially the only street that runs through the whole city, east to west. If I don't think Dewdney represents the values or the beliefs of the citizens of Treaty 4, of the citizens of Regina. So we should change it to, Buffalo Avenue, the Tatanka Avenue, Pascuamustus Avenue. There's so many different ways to say Buffalo. My part is advocating for that name change, but it should be something Buffalo. And so I think the only discussion we need to have in the community is should it be a Cree word? Should it be a Nakota word? Should it be Saulteaux? Should it be Métis, English, French? Let's talk about that. Not whether it should be changed, but which Buffalo word should it be changed to?
I love that. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Homelands. And so Kishimarsi to our relative tonight, Jolie BigEagle, who's a fabulous bison artist, Buffalo artist. And this is Auntie Andy signing out from Homelands, originally produced on CFCR Community Radio 90.5 FM in Saskatoon, Homelands of the Métis and Treaty 6 territory. Niwak and Maganak, all my relations, and believe me, we are all related, so act like you got relations. You can find excellent programming on Indian and Cowboy Podcasting. Follow us on Twitter at Métis Homelands, or email us at métishomelands@gmail.com. This episode will also be viewable on the YouTube channel, so subscribe today. Thank you so much for listening, and Akoshi Kawapamtinawa Mina. That's all. We'll see you later.
Oh, Atakiwasin.